Hey everyone, so I wanted to make kind of a quick, low-effort rebuttal to the broadcast for this month, the JW Broadcasting episode, because it's especially culty.
What really touched me the most was how clean Jehovah's people were compared to the people that I'd been associating for so many years.
But it quickly morphed into a long, high-effort video, so I'm still working on that. It'll be ready soonish. So to bridge the gap, I'm going to put out an actual short video to talk about something that's been on my mind, but I really haven't found an opportunity to talk about. And that would be the subject of new light.
Now, will there be new light today? I think Brother Cook already spilled the beans a bit.
Specifically, the new light presented at this year's annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, for my never JW describers, the whole concept of new light is sort of the same thing as progressive revelation, I believe it's called in Mormonism. Basically, that the truth is constantly unfolding. We humans, and by we humans I mean specifically Jehovah's Witnesses, have a limited understanding of the Bible, but as God sees fit, he reveals more information.
Well, we know that the closer we get to the Great Tribulation, the clearer our understanding is of what will occur. Yes, our understanding is clarified according to the proper time, and also in a way that will help us not only to endure the Great Tribulation, but also to prosper during that period of time.
Now, this is just a way to justify them consistently getting stuff wrong and having to change their doctrine. And in fact, JW Facts, I believe it's JW Facts, has a fantastic flip-flop document. I said that correctly the first time, if you can believe it, which documents all of the changes that they've made. Not just things that they've changed, but things that they have said was one way, and then they changed it to another way, and then later reverted back to the first way. And the annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses this past year was a really good example of how they do that.
How does the light get brighter?
So much has been made about the amount of new light that was revealed at this year's annual meeting. Much has been made of it by Watchtower themselves, I should say.
That annual meeting has been called Landmark. We've even stated that. We called it a landmark annual meeting.
And for sure, two big changes did happen. One, at the annual meeting, they did away with the practice of witnesses counting their field service time.
Our ministry involves much more than counting time.
That's definitely a big change, and it was presented as new light, as a new understanding. But weirdly, they acknowledge in the same annual meeting that it's not really new light because they haven't always counted time. They've done it for the past 100 or so years. I'll show a clip, but I believe it was in the 1920s.
When did we begin reporting field service activity? Prior to 1920, only colporteurs, as pioneers were then called, were asked to submit reports.
But of course, most modern Jehovah's Witnesses weren't alive for that, so they don't have any memory of it, so it's all new to them. The other big change happened a couple months after the annual meeting, or maybe the very next month, and that was doing away with this weird arbitrary restriction that witnesses have had for almost a century to not grow beards. Men were not allowed to have beards, basically.
But now we ask, what about the wearing of a beard?
Now, yes, it was technically allowed, but you were not viewed as a member in good standing in the United States if you had a beard. Some other countries were different, but it was a big deal in the US and in the UK. This has been criticized by not just ex-Jehovah's Witnesses like myself, but current members of Jehovah's Witnesses. I can tell you that no man that I ever met in the organization, and it's a patriarchal group, there's a lot of guys, I never met a single guy who agreed with the beard thing. If you got a couple of drinks in them, they'll tell you what they really think, and everyone thought this was dumb. And of course, it was a welcome change, but it was also a flip-flop.
Brother Russell, too, wore a beard. One newspaper editor called him a well-groomed minister.
The founder of the group famously had a beard, and in fact, that was the real reason why they changed it. I'm going in too deep for what I wanted this quick video to be.
His soft, white flowing beard is the beard of a patriarch, a father. It gives you confidence.
Those were the two biggest things, but I would argue that even the smaller doctrinal changes that Watchtower presented at the annual meeting that even myself on this channel have made out to be kind of a big deal.
I know what you're thinking. The wheels are turning.
Well, I've been rewatching a lot of footage of this, pulling clips for the JW broadcast rebuttal that I'm doing, and I'm asking myself, did they really change anything?
So we can't be dogmatic. It simply means that we don't know. We just don't know.
So, for example, the Armageddon of it all. When's the cutoff point? When does the ark door close, so to speak? When's the last point when non-Jehovah's Witnesses can jump onto the ark, onto this life raft of Jehovah's Witnesses and survive Armageddon?
The animals were scared. They had no idea what was happening.
The annual meeting suggested a fairly big change that Jeffrey Jackson sort of just makes fun of outright. Not sort of, he does do it, look.
So that is a review of what we already believe. So if you were writing down notes, there's a new point, be careful what you say to others.
Basically, they used to think that once the Great Tribulation starts, which watch my Armageddon video for a breakdown of how that works, but the Great Tribulation is this period of time before Armageddon. It is the darkness just before the dawn, spiritually speaking. Witnesses are going to be persecuted and perhaps even imprisoned, and SWAT teams are definitely involved. They keep on showing SWAT teams. And so I know that I, on this channel, and a lot of XJWs like me have made a big deal of the fact that they have flip-flopped on this. They have changed it and are now saying, as they have said in the past, by the way, before they flopped to the flip, that, well, you can join after the start of the Great Tribulation. It used to be no, when the Great Tribulation starts, nobody can join anymore. Too late. You should have listened before the SWAT team showed up, asshole.
We don't want to be like Jonah and say, oh, no, the door's closed. No.
But now they've changed it, and they're saying, well, at some point, there'll be a cutoff, but, well, we don't know.
Let's think about some that we know, perhaps unbelieving relatives, disfellowshipped ones, others that have heard the message, perhaps studied with us. Could some of them, once they see the destruction of Babylon the Great, decide that what Jehovah's Witnesses were saying is correct after all? Could they take a stand for the truth? Well, if they changed their hearts and joined us, would we be disappointed? Now, we can't be dogmatic.
But here's my question. Did they actually change this?
How does it work?
In this talk, and in every talk that gets into some new understanding, they don't actually change anything.
Can we say dogmatically that not one sodomite would have repented if Jehovah's requirements have been explained? And then there's the fascinating statement made by Jesus.
So that was the first question. I'm sure you found interesting. Yeah. Once the Great Tribulation starts, does the door of opportunity close? The answer is, well, we'll have to wait and see. But according to the scriptures, it is a possibility.
But does it mean that there's no hope for any of them? Jesus' statement we just read would indicate that there is hope for some. We just can't be dogmatic. But again, we can say that the merciful judge of all the earth will do what is right.
In each instance, the governing body member speaking leads the listener, the viewer, down a clear path. He clearly lays out what seems to be the new understanding. And then he says, but is that true, everything that I just said? Well...
So, can we guarantee that everyone living on earth during that time knew of Noah and what he was doing? We can't really say that. And can we say that if someone had been given an adequate opportunity, he still would have turned his back on Jehovah? We just can't say that. Now, of course, if Jehovah didn't bring them back, they wouldn't have any grounds for complaint. They've had life. And life is more than any of us deserves.
we can't be dogmatic, or we just don't know. And at one point he even says, but we hope it's true.
Yes, many take the opportunity to make a decision right now. But could it be that once the Great Tribulation starts, many who have heard the message that Jehovah's Witnesses have preached may be in a position then to make the right decision, the right choice? Well, again, we can't be dogmatic, but we certainly hope that would be the case.
Well, boy, I hope Jehovah doesn't dash your hopes. That would be a bummer for you. So why would they do this? Why would they not just change it to the new thing? Well, of course, because they've changed it before to the old thing, and now they're reverting back to the older thing.
Now, that's an interesting paradox, isn't it?
Strategically and rhetorically, they're not actually flip-flopping, by their logic, you see, because he's couching all of this in, well, we can't be dogmatic.
It simply means that we don't know.
So why would they do that? Well, here's the thing. Most Jehovah's Witnesses are very kind, nice people. I had very positive experiences growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, but the governing body are a testament to the fact that there are some Jehovah's Witnesses who are just real mean and nasty, and they like the mean-spirited, cruel doctrines about how the Jehovah's enemies are going to be destroyed, and by Jehovah's enemies, they mean people who yelled at them out in service, or their family members who didn't join the group along with them.
But, of course, we might be thinking, yes, well, I understand why we said what we did before, but is it really the case that all these ones that we've studied with or so on, some of them may have a chance to join us after Babylon the Great is destroyed? Is that fair? Last-minute repentance.
And they like the idea that people are going to be banging on the side of the Ark door, metaphorically speaking, but not be allowed to be let in.
Now, of course, if Jehovah didn't bring them back, they wouldn't have any grounds for complaint. They've had life. And life is more than any of us deserves.
A big appeal of a doomsday prophecy is that at some point you get to look at all the people and say, I told you so.
Whoa! Look, it's our friend we used to pick on for being Christian!
Oh, she looks great! Can you take us to heaven now, please?
Ooh, I cannot. I just came to say goodbye on my way to Abraham's bosom. Bye! I forgive you!
And the fact that he leaves the door open to, well, we can't be dogmatic, so maybe the old way is right, that gives people who like the old doctrine the permission to hang on to that belief.
We just don't know.
I think this is deviously clever in the sense that it gives Jehovah's Witnesses the idea that they're not dogmatic, that they don't have hard and fast rules that they have to agree with. They can have their own interpretations, they just can't be dogmatic. But, well, what happens if they were to be dogmatic, if they started to think, hey, wait a minute, I think that this particular teaching is harmful and I should say something about it so it can change. Well, then they're going to find out that the group is quite dogmatic, because what's the most important thing? Unity.
Be at unity with Jehovah's organization today by keeping calm and showing trust.
So it's a sneaky trick. Those sneaky bastards, they did it again. So this is a very sneaky, clever thing they're doing. Is this new light? I think that they would deny it, because listen to what David's Plain says here.
Well, what's the takeaway from this talk so far? How would you explain it to someone who wasn't here today? You would not say,
some who died in Sodom and Gomorrah and in the flood are going to be resurrected, and Solomon isn't going to be resurrected.
No, you wouldn't say that. What we're saying is that we shouldn't be dogmatic about who will and who will not be resurrected.
No, they say, we're not changing anything. The new teaching is, we just don't know. But of course, they're implying that they know, otherwise they wouldn't have painted this incredibly specific scenario and gone out of their way to make fun of the teaching that they used to have.
Now, while we're talking about this, let's talk about the elephant in the room. What do we mean? Well, you know, some of us in the past, we're not going to mention names, but you know, some of us have said,
Oh, my unbelieving relative, or, I hope he dies before the Great Tribulation.
Aha, we know what you've been saying. You said because if he dies before the Great Tribulation, he'll have a chance of a resurrection. But during? But let's think about that. And really, what are we thinking if we ask that question? Are we imagining Jehovah saying to Jesus, look, this person, they really should die forever. But look at it.
They died now before the Great Tribulation. Oh, no, we have to resurrect them. I mean, really?
I think they see this as a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. They can point to the text and be like, see, technically, I put in all these weasel words, so we didn't lie exactly. And if you don't think that matters, then you've never argued with a Jehovah's Witness before, because this stuff is very important to them. The Watchtower is constantly making little tricks like this. Making tricks? Cereal? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm recording this off the top of my head. I don't have a script because it's supposed to be quick. Jehovah's Witnesses like having these little get-out-of-jail-free cards. When an ex-Jehovah's Witness or a critic of the organization challenges them on something and says, your leaders said X, Y, and Z, and now you're saying this, they are going to do that research and they'll find this video and they'll be like, oh no, they didn't lie, see? They said we don't know. They said we can't be dogmatic.
That's not for us to say.
It's all complete nonsense, and it's also important to note that none of this changes the fact that it's a cult. They're not changing things like the blood doctrine or disfellowshipping or the way that the social hierarchy works. They're not changing the extreme sexism of the organization or the queer phobia or any of the actual damaging practices that make this group harmful. Even the ministry thing, well, the kingdom halls are still structured the same way, so people are still going to be monitored by the elders, and they will be viewed as, what's the phrase? I'm having a wonderful XJW moment. Exemplary. It's nice to forget Watchtower phrases. That means they're not constantly front of mind.
The governing body is confident that you, dear ones, will continue to render whole-souled service to Jehovah by doing all that you can in his service.
Yeah, you're going to be told whether or not you're exemplary based on how visible you are in the field ministry. So yeah, you can not show up as much for service if you like, but I think Watchtower realizes that the numbers don't look great for them, and people can lie on their field service reports anyway. I feel like now is a fine time to mention that I was probably never honest on my service report, not even once. I always rounded up, and sometimes rounded way up, like the actual number was like 0, and I rounded up to bigger than 0, which is a lie. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm giving myself 2 hours, and that started almost 15 minutes ago when I started recording this, so whatever you see on the channel, the video that you just watched, all happened within 2 hours, so either be impressed or be like, yeah, that seems like maybe it shouldn't have even taken that long.
That wasn't good.
And thank you to my patrons who make it possible for me to take my sweet time with videos because they're very nice and supportive. So if you like the channel, you can support me on Patreon. And by the way, if you like the channel and can't support me on Patreon, that's also fine. I don't know why I worded it quite so weird. I don't know why I'm talking. I only have 1 hour and 45 minutes left.
Yes, and I've got some time left.